Parker Stevenson became a familiar face to millions as Frank Hardy, the calm and thoughtful older brother in the Hardy Boys/Nancy Drew mysteries. While his co-star Sean Cassidy often drew the louder attention, Stevenson earned admiration through quiet confidence and understated charm. Years later, he introduced himself to an entirely new audience as lifeguard Craig Pomeroy on Baywatch, proving that his career could span generations without ever relying on flashy celebrity. Yet the role that would shape his life most profoundly wasn't one he played on television. It was his real-life relationship with actress Kirstie Alley, a romance built on passion, sharp contrasts, unforgettable highs, heartbreaking losses, and a connection that endured long after their marriage ended. Even decades after they went their separate ways, her passing in 2022 inspired one of the most heartfelt tributes Parker had ever shared publicly. Born in Philadelphia in 1952, Parker Stevenson was raised in a stable and traditional household. Friends often described him as thoughtful, reserved, and naturally humble. He wasn't the type to dominate every room he entered. Instead, he possessed a quiet presence that made people feel comfortable around him. His education reflected that steady upbringing, and although acting eventually became his profession, it wasn't something he had always envisioned as his life's calling. Everything changed in 1977 when ABC cast him as Frank Hardy in the Hardy Boys/Nancy Drew mysteries. Alongside teen sensation Sean Cassidy, Stevenson became one half of television's famous detective brothers. The show's popularity exploded, turning both young actors into household names. Magazine covers, fan clubs, and endless letters from admirers quickly followed. For several years, Parker experienced the whirlwind of teen idol fame, even as he privately questioned where his career would go once the excitement faded. When the series concluded after 3 seasons, he found himself searching for a new direction. That search unexpectedly led him to the person who would change his life forever. In 1981, Parker walked into a Los Angeles bar while accompanying another date. Across the room, Kirstie Alley noticed him almost instantly. According to stories both of them would later recount, she confidently told her roommate that she had just seen the man she could easily fall in love with. Her bold personality left little room for hesitation. Despite Parker arriving with someone else, Kirstie approached him anyway. Before long, they were dancing together, and what began as an unexpected encounter quickly became the beginning of an unforgettable romance. Looking back years later, Parker admitted he had reached a difficult point in his own life when they met. The intense attention that came with teen stardom had left him emotionally drained, and he wasn't sure what direction his future should take. Kirstie, on the other hand, radiated optimism, ambition, and excitement. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and it reminded him of something he realized he had lost along the way, his own sense of joy. That contrast drew him in. While Parker found comfort in calmness and reflection, Kirstie embraced life with fearless energy. Their personalities couldn't have been more different, yet those differences initially became the very reason they connected so deeply. After nearly 2 years together, the couple married on December 22, 1983. They entered marriage fully aware that they came from different worlds. Parker preferred quiet evenings, classical music, and a more reserved lifestyle. Kirstie was outspoken, energetic, adventurous, and filled every room with her unmistakable presence. Those opposite qualities made their relationship exciting. Neither tried to become the other. Instead, they believed their differences would strengthen the bond they shared. For a time, it seemed they were right. Their love story had officially begun, setting the stage for years filled with remarkable success, growing fame, unexpected heartbreak, and challenges that neither of them could have predicted. As the years passed, Parker Stevenson and Kirstie Alley settled into married life, but it quickly became clear that they viewed the world through very different lenses. Parker found comfort in peace, routine, and privacy. Kirstie thrived on excitement, spontaneity, and constant activity. Their differences were obvious to everyone who knew them, yet those same contrasts had drawn them together in the first place. Kirstie had an infectious personality that could energize an entire room. She embraced life with enthusiasm, loved meeting new people, and rarely hesitated to speak her mind. Parker, by contrast, was naturally reserved. He preferred listening over talking and often described himself as someone who didn't need to be the center of attention. Friends frequently remarked that the two balanced each other in surprising ways. Their interests reflected those differences as well. Parker enjoyed classical music and a quieter lifestyle, while Kirstie embraced a wide range of interests and approached life with boundless energy. Their beliefs and daily habits often differed, but during the early years of their marriage, those contrasts seemed more fascinating than problematic. Years later, Parker would honestly reflect on their relationship by saying that they were complete opposites. He believed those differences made the relationship exciting in the beginning, but eventually realized that attraction alone could not overcome fundamental differences in how two people wanted to live their lives. The couple built a home in California that reflected Kirstie's larger-than-life personality. She had an enormous love for animals and welcomed countless rescued pets into their household. Dogs, cats, birds, and other animals all found a place under her care. Their home was lively, unpredictable, and filled with constant activity. While Parker naturally preferred a quieter environment, he embraced the chaos because it made Kirstie happy. Behind the glamour of Hollywood, however, the couple also experienced painful moments that few people could see. In 1990, Kirstie suffered the devastating loss of a pregnancy during the first trimester. The emotional impact stayed with her long after the miscarriage itself. She later spoke openly about the experience, describing how both the physical and emotional pain lingered for months. It became one of the deepest sorrows of her life, and she admitted that it was something she never truly forgot. Throughout that difficult period, Parker remained by her side. While grief affected each of them differently, they faced the tragedy together and continued hoping to build the family they had dreamed about. Their wish finally came true through adoption. In 1992, they welcomed their son, William True Stevenson, into their lives. 2 years later, their family grew again when they adopted a daughter, Lily Price Stevenson. Becoming parents brought a new sense of purpose to both of them. Friends and family often noted that Parker embraced fatherhood with remarkable devotion. Away from television cameras, he was known as a caring and attentive father who cherished time with his children above almost everything else. As Parker focused on family life, Kirstie's professional career reached extraordinary new heights. In 1987, she joined the hit sitcom Cheers as Rebecca Howe, stepping into one of television's most successful series. Taking over a major role on an already beloved show was no easy task. Yet Kirstie quickly won audiences over with her unique comedic timing and memorable performances. Her success was rewarded with some of television's highest honors, including both an Emmy Award and a Golden Globe. She had become one of Hollywood's biggest stars almost overnight. Even during award ceremonies, Kirstie's personality remained unmistakable. Her acceptance speeches often blended humor, affection, and complete unpredictability, leaving audiences laughing while also revealing how deeply she appreciated the people closest to her. Parker frequently watched proudly from the audience, supporting her achievements while remaining comfortable outside the spotlight. Although their careers moved in different directions, they continued encouraging one another. Parker never appeared threatened by Kirstie's growing fame. Instead, he celebrated her accomplishments while quietly continuing to build his own career. Still, success couldn't erase the realities of everyday life. The qualities that had once made their relationship exciting slowly became more difficult to navigate. Parker longed for calm and stability, while Kirstie continued pursuing a fast-paced life filled with constant energy and new adventures. Their love remained genuine, but maintaining harmony required increasing effort from both of them. Neither of them had entered the marriage expecting perfection. They believed relationships required patience, compromise, and commitment. For many years, they continued choosing each other despite the growing challenges. But as time passed, they would discover that even the strongest affection sometimes isn't enough to bridge two very different visions of the future. Even as their personal differences became more noticeable, Parker Stevenson and Kirstie Alley continued sharing both their home and their careers. In 1986, they appeared together in the television miniseries North and South, Book 2: Love and War. Acting alongside one another gave audiences a glimpse of their chemistry, But working together also meant bringing the pressures of Hollywood into their everyday lives. Balancing demanding filming schedules with family responsibilities wasn't easy. Like many couples in the entertainment industry, they had to navigate long workdays, public attention, and the challenge of keeping their relationship healthy while living much of their lives in the spotlight. For a time, they managed to make it work. Behind closed doors, however, the differences that had once felt exciting were becoming harder to ignore. Parker valued stability, privacy, and a slower pace of life. Kirstie was driven by constant change, new opportunities, and an energetic lifestyle that rarely slowed down. Neither approach was wrong, they simply wanted different things. Years later, Parker reflected on their marriage with remarkable honesty. He acknowledged that their opposite personalities had created a powerful attraction in the beginning, but eventually those same differences became obstacles they couldn't overcome. It wasn't a lack of love that challenged their marriage. It was the realization that they envisioned different futures. By late 1996, after more than a decade together, the couple made the painful decision to separate. When they officially filed for divorce, the legal documents cited irreconcilable differences, a phrase often used in celebrity divorces. But Parker later explained the situation in much simpler terms. He believed they had reached a point where their goals in life no longer aligned. They cared deeply for one another, yet neither could give the other the life they truly wanted. In a joint public statement, Parker and Kirstie emphasized that they intended to remain devoted parents to their two children. While many celebrity divorces become highly public battles, both were determined to protect their family as much as possible. The process itself, however, wasn't easy. Negotiating custody arrangements and financial matters took considerable time and created emotional strain for both of them. Although they eventually reached agreements, the experience left lasting scars. In later interviews, Parker admitted that the divorce had been one of the most difficult periods of his life. He also spoke openly about something many people rarely discuss after a marriage ends: the emotional weight of broken promises. Having exchanged vows with sincere intentions, he struggled with the reality that those promises could not be kept forever. Even though he understood why the marriage had ended, he still viewed its conclusion as one of life's greatest disappointments. Despite the pain, Parker never portrayed Kirstie as the villain in their story. Instead, he consistently expressed respect for the woman she was and acknowledged that they had both tried to save the relationship. They simply reached a point where love alone could no longer overcome their fundamental differences. Kirstie shared a similarly balanced perspective. She publicly stated that neither partner had been unfaithful during their marriage and rejected rumors suggesting that betrayal had caused their separation. Instead, she explained that they had simply grown in different directions. Over the years, Kirstie openly admitted that she had developed feelings for other actors during various projects. Among those she mentioned were Patrick Swayze, her co-star in North and South, and longtime friend John Travolta. However, she consistently maintained that those emotions never turned into physical affairs while she was married to Parker. She later explained that she believed marriage required commitment, sacrifice, and persistence. Even when relationships became difficult, she felt that couples should work through their problems whenever possible. That belief, she said, was one reason she stayed committed to her marriage for so many years despite the growing challenges. Looking back, it's clear that neither Parker nor Kirstie viewed those 14 years as a failure. Instead, they saw them as a meaningful chapter filled with love, personal growth, unforgettable memories, and two children who remained the greatest blessing of their lives. Their marriage had ended, but the family they created would always keep them connected. While Kirstie continued expanding her career as one of television's biggest stars, Parker quietly moved into the next phase of his own professional journey. The days of teen idol fame were behind him, but another chapter was waiting. One that would prove longevity can be just as meaningful as superstardom. When Parker Stevenson and Kirstie Alley ended their marriage, both faced the challenge of rebuilding their lives. While the divorce marked the end of their relationship as husband and wife, it did not erase the years they had shared or the family they had created together. For Parker, the next chapter would be defined by quiet perseverance rather than dramatic reinvention. Unlike many former teen idols who struggled to remain relevant, Parker continued working steadily in television. He accepted guest roles in a variety of popular series, choosing consistent work over chasing headlines. His career became a reflection of his personality, reliable, professional, and free from the constant search for publicity. One of his most recognizable later roles came on Baywatch, where he portrayed lifeguard Craig Pomeroy. The globally successful series introduced Parker to an entirely new generation of viewers who had never seen the Hardy Boys. Although he was no longer the teenage heartthrob of the late 1970s, audiences appreciated his mature screen presence and dependable performances. Rather than trying to relive his early fame, Parker embraced each new opportunity on its own terms. His willingness to evolve allowed him to enjoy a career that lasted far longer than many of his contemporaries. Years later, he joined the cast of Netflix's Greenhouse Academy, playing the respected director of the elite boarding school featured throughout the series. The role once again demonstrated his ability to transition naturally into more mature characters while remaining active in the entertainment industry. Parker also delighted longtime fans by reuniting with former Hardy Boys co-star Pamela Sue Martin in the holiday film My Christmas Prince. Their on-screen chemistry reminded audiences why they had become so popular decades earlier, offering a nostalgic reunion that celebrated an important era of television history. Away from the cameras, Parker gradually found happiness again. He eventually met chef and television personality Lisa Schoen. According to stories shared over the years, one of the first things that captured Parker's attention was Lisa's cooking, particularly a bowl of homemade chicken noodle soup that left a lasting impression. While the story may sound simple, it perfectly reflected the kind of life Parker had always wanted. One centered on comfort, warmth, and genuine companionship rather than Hollywood glamour. Their relationship grew steadily, and Parker eventually remarried. Friends described this stage of his life as calmer and more peaceful than the whirlwind years of his first marriage. The quieter lifestyle suited him, allowing him to enjoy success without the constant attention that often surrounded celebrity couples. Even so, one connection remained impossible to break. No matter how separate their personal lives became, Parker and Kirstie would always be linked through their children. William True Stevenson and Lily Price Stevenson grew into adulthood with the support of both parents, who remained committed to putting family ahead of past disagreements. As the years passed, their family expanded once again. In 2016, True welcomed a son, making Parker and Kirstie grandparents for the first time. The arrival of a grandson brought a new source of joy to both of them, despite the fact that they had long since gone their separate ways. A few years later, Lily also became a parent, giving the family another grandchild. These new additions represented something larger than either Parker or Kirstie individually. They were living reminders that although their marriage had ended, the love that once brought them together continued through future generations. Parenthood had always been one of the strongest bonds they shared, but becoming grandparents strengthened that connection even further. Family celebrations, milestones, and the happiness of watching their children build lives of their own created a relationship that no divorce could erase. By this stage of life, Parker had settled into a rhythm that reflected the man he had always been. He continued acting, enjoyed a stable marriage, and cherished time with his growing family. Fame had become only one part of his identity. Husband, father, and grandfather mattered far more. Meanwhile, Kirstie continued living life with the same unmistakable energy that had defined her career. Though their paths rarely crossed publicly, there remained an unspoken understanding between them, a shared history that neither of them denied nor tried to rewrite. Neither could have imagined that, years later, one unexpected phone call would bring all those memories rushing back and inspire Parker to express feelings he had quietly carried for decades. On December 5, 2022, heartbreaking news spread across Hollywood. Actress Kirstie Alley had passed away at the age of 71 after a brief battle with cancer. According to her family, the illness had only recently been discovered, making the loss even more unexpected. Her children, William True Stevenson and Lily Price Stevenson, announced her passing with a heartfelt statement that celebrated not only her successful career, but also the woman they knew at home. They described their mother as courageous, joyful, and deeply devoted to her family, saying that her greatest role had never been on screen, it had been as a mother and grandmother. Tributes quickly poured in from every corner of the entertainment industry. Friends, co-stars, and longtime colleagues shared memories of Kirstie's humor, generosity, and unforgettable personality. Those who had worked with her remembered someone who could fill a room with laughter, while those closest to her spoke about her kindness, loyalty, and ability to make ordinary moments feel extraordinary. Among the many messages of remembrance, one stood out for its quiet sincerity. Parker Stevenson had not been married to Kirstie for more than 2 decades. Both had built separate lives, found new happiness, and moved forward after their divorce. Yet when he learned of her passing, his response revealed that some connections never truly disappear. Rather than releasing a lengthy statement, Parker shared a deeply personal tribute accompanied by a touching photograph from years gone by. His words were simple, heartfelt, and free of bitterness. Instead of focusing on the pain of their divorce, he chose to remember the gratitude he felt for the years they shared. He reflected on the family they built together, the children they raised, and the grandchildren who now carried a part of both of them into the future. His message wasn't about revisiting old regrets. It was about honoring a life that had forever changed his own. That quiet act of remembrance resonated with many people because it reflected something universal. Relationships don't always fit neatly into labels like success or failure. Some leave lasting marks regardless of how they end, and Parker's tribute acknowledged that truth with remarkable grace. While fans remembered Kirstie for her Emmy-winning performances, blockbuster films, and unforgettable television roles, those who knew her personally often spoke first about her warmth and enthusiasm. She had a gift for making people feel welcome, and she approached life with an energy that few could match. Parker understood that better than most. Years earlier, he had admitted that when they first met, Kirstie's optimism had helped restore a sense of joy he had nearly lost. Even though their marriage ultimately came to an end, he never denied the positive impact she had on his life. Today, Parker continues to enjoy a quieter life with his family. He remains respected for a career that has spanned decades, from the Hardy Boys to Baywatch and beyond. Rather than chasing constant attention, he has built a legacy based on consistency, professionalism, and quiet dignity. Looking back, his story is about far more than television success. It's about a young actor who became a teen idol before he fully understood fame. It's about 2 very different people who fell deeply in love despite their differences. It's about raising children, facing heartbreak, accepting change, and discovering that respect can outlast romance. Parker and Kirstie's marriage lasted 14 years, but the impact of their relationship extended far beyond that timeline. Their children, their grandchildren, and the memories they created together remain lasting reminders of a bond that neither time nor distance could completely erase. Life rarely follows the script we imagine. Some relationships last forever, while others end long before anyone expects. Yet the people who shape our lives often remain with us in ways that are impossible to measure. For Parker Stevenson, Kirstie Alley will always be part of that story. Not simply because they were once husband and wife, but because together they built a family, shared unforgettable years, and helped shape one another's lives. In the end, perhaps that is the truest legacy either of them could leave behind. Awards fade, television shows become history, and headlines are eventually forgotten. But the love we give, the lives we touch, and the family we create continue long after the spotlight has moved on. If this story reminded you of the lasting impact that certain people have on our lives, share your thoughts below. Do you believe that some relationships remain meaningful even after they have ended? We'd love to hear your perspective. And if you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to subscribe for more stories celebrating the remarkable lives behind Hollywood's most memorable stars.